The memory of that day has never faded from my mind, no matter how many years have passed. It started out as just another ordinary morning, the kind where nothing seemed particularly out of place. The sun was peeking through the curtains of my small apartment in Chicago, and the city noise was already beginning to hum outside. Cars honking, dogs barking, people rushing to work. I was living alone at the time, still trying to figure myself out, caught somewhere between chasing my dreams and paying bills on time. That morning, I decided to take a quick shower before heading off to my part-time job. The water was warm, steam filling the small bathroom, and I let myself sink into that small moment of peace. My head was full of thoughts, unfinished college plans, debts, dreams I wasn't sure I could ever reach. I wasn't expecting anything unusual to happen, certainly not something that would alter the direction of my life. But life often changes when you least expect it. Her name was Emily. She had been my neighbor for almost a year. She lived in the apartment right across the hall, and we had exchanged plenty of polite hellos, small conversations in the elevator, the occasional wave when checking mail at the same time. Emily was the kind of person you noticed without even meaning to. She had this quiet confidence about her, the kind that wasn't loud but steady, and a smile that could make even the most stressful day feel lighter. We weren't close at the time, but she was friendly enough to feel familiar, like someone who was always nearby even when you didn't pay attention. I knew she worked as a graphic designer from home, which explained why I often saw her in casual clothes, coffee mug in hand, while I was rushing to catch the train. That morning, when I was in the shower, the last thing I imagined was that Emily would walk into my apartment. But that's exactly what happened. To this day, we laugh about it. But back then, it was chaotic, awkward, and completely life-changing. I heard the bathroom door creak open while I was rinsing the shampoo from my hair. At first, I thought it was just my imagination. The old door hinges squeaked sometimes when the wind came through the drafty windows. But then I heard footsteps. Slow, careful, hesitant. My heart nearly stopped. "Hello," I called out, instantly panicked, my voice echoing over the running water. There was a pause. Then a familiar voice answered. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know you were in here." It was Emily. I froze. She froze too. Though I couldn't see her, I could feel the weight of the moment in the silence between us. "Emily?" I said, half laughing, half trying not to sound as embarrassed as I felt. "Yes. I'm so sorry, Alex," she replied quickly, her voice muffled through the door. "I thought you weren't home. I needed to borrow some sugar. I didn't mean to barge in like this. Your door was unlocked, and I knocked, but I guess you didn't hear me." I could hear the nervousness in her voice. My mind raced, caught between the absurdity of the situation and the awkward vulnerability of standing in the shower, while my neighbor stood just a few feet away. "It's okay," I managed to say, trying to sound casual. "I probably should start locking my door." We both laughed, nervous laughter, the kind that comes when you don't know what else to do. I told her to grab what she needed from the kitchen, and I'd be out in a minute. She apologized again and hurried away, but I could still feel the strange electricity lingering in the air. That small accident, that completely unplanned and slightly embarrassing moment, was the spark that changed everything. When I finally stepped out of the shower and threw on some clothes, I found Emily still in my kitchen. She had indeed borrowed sugar, but she lingered, as if unsure whether to leave or stay. I remember she was wearing a pale blue sweatshirt, her hair tied in a messy bun, no makeup, yet she looked effortlessly beautiful. "Again, I'm so sorry," she said, her cheeks slightly flushed. "It's really okay," I replied. "Honestly, you gave me the most memorable shower of my life." We both burst out laughing at that, and the tension broke. That laugh was the beginning of something I couldn't have predicted. We ended up sitting at my small dining table, talking for nearly an hour. It was the first time we'd ever had a real conversation, the kind that went beyond small talk. We talked about everything: her passion for art, my frustrations about figuring out my future, the silly quirks of living in our apartment building. She told me how lonely it sometimes felt working from home, and I admitted how disconnected I often felt juggling jobs that didn't fulfill me. Time slipped by without us noticing. It was only when I glanced at the clock and realized I was late for work that we finally broke away. But even then, there was something different in the air. A closeness. A spark. From that day on, things changed between us. We started talking more often, sharing meals, helping each other with little things like carrying groceries or fixing leaky faucets. Emily had a warmth about her that made my apartment feel less like a temporary stop and more like home. One evening, a few weeks later, she invited me over for dinner. It was a simple meal: pasta, a salad, a bottle of wine. But the way she looked across the table at me, her eyes soft and full of something I couldn't quite name, made my heart race. That night, for the first time, I realized I didn't just enjoy her company. I wanted more. And she did too. It wasn't some dramatic confession or sweeping romantic gesture. It was subtle, natural, like something that was always meant to happen. After dinner, we were washing dishes together, laughing about how terrible I was at drying plates, when she suddenly paused. She looked at me, her laughter fading into something deeper. Then, without a word, she leaned in and kissed me. It was gentle, hesitant at first, but it held everything that had been building between us since that morning in my shower. The connection, the tension, the unspoken feelings. When she pulled back, her cheeks flushed, she whispered, "I've been wanting to do that for a while." So had I. From that moment, we became inseparable. Our relationship grew naturally, beautifully, with its share of ups and downs, but always anchored in that spark we discovered by accident. Looking back now, I realize how strange it is that something so small, a door left unlocked, a neighbor needing sugar, an unexpected interruption in a shower, could shift the course of my life forever. Emily and I built a life together out of that moment. We moved in together, supported each other through career changes, celebrated small victories, and comforted each other during hard times. Years later, when I proposed to her, I reminded her of that day. "You walked in on me showering," I told her with a grin. "And you've been walking into my life ever since. Please never stop." She laughed, tears in her eyes, and said yes. Now, every time I look at her, I'm reminded of that morning, that awkward and unforgettable moment that set everything in motion. Love doesn't always arrive with fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes, it comes quietly, disguised as an accident, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. For me, it happened when she walked in while I was showering. And everything changed.